Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Grain to Glass webinar, especially for the English Whisky Guild members and others who have joined us today. Delighted to share with you our system that we've created, and hopefully you'll all enjoy it. So on the call today, you've got myself. I'm Rob Scambler. I'm the ERP Sales Director here at Catalyst. We've got Stephen, who's going to be doing the demonstration. He's the PS Director. And we've got our distillery specialist, Sam, who is your point of contact if you want more information at the end of this. So just a brief introduction to Catalyst then. So we're proud members of the English Whisky Guild, and meeting a lot of people within there and helping them. And we're also members of the Bonded Warehouse Association as well. We are a NetSuite partner. We work with roughly around about 85 to 90 customers, spreading across these four areas here. But obviously today we're talking about our specially made version of NetSuite which we call Bottle ERP. And these are just a handful of the distilleries that we've worked with over the last year to 18 months, developing this product that will manage your distillery from grain to glass. And we're going to show you parts of that system today. So I like to think of a business as a cask. It's a bit of a metaphor. And at the start of the year, if you see here, you put your gross profit, your margins, your operational profit, your revenue into your forecast. And as the year goes by, so as it filters through the cask, if you will, at the end of it, you may have a reduced or an erosion of that GP, that revenue, that operational profit, and you have to kind of look at it and go, why? Now, if you haven't got the right infrastructure in place, i.e. IT systems that can track everything in real time, you're going to have difficulty with tracking LPA. You might have disparate systems there, which doesn't allow you the visibility of the business. You might be working in spreadsheets, which is really difficult because it's very manual, and the reports and the data that you're getting will be really out of date. Big one, reporting on duty and getting those duty payments submitted to HMRC. We're going to show you how we manage that today. And ineffective production scheduling. So as you go through the year, all these challenges will leak out that profit margin that you aim for at the start of the year. So I'd just like to ask you guys now on the webinar today just to really think, do any of these issues really resonate with you? And if they do, then please stay on, because we're going to show you how we fix them. So just a brief introduction to NetSuite as the system. So NetSuite is an enterprise level ERP system without the enterprise costing, thank God. It's a single data source at the heart of it, which all 38,000 customers are situated on. So you're never version locked. There are 2 upgrades per year, and everyone benefits with the added functionality, which is added at any time. Now, the Bottle ERP bit that we're going to talk about today is built within what's called the Suite Cloud platform. And all our scripts and customizations that we've built for the whiskey industry or the alcohol industry sit within the platform, so that when it upgrades, everything upgrades. Other systems might put customizations on top of the platform, which makes it difficult to upgrade when those other systems tend to do their upgrades. So NetSuite is that one platform that's going to help run your distillery from grain to glass. So it's got this, you've got CRM, you've got financials, you've got production scheduling, you've got supply chain management. All these things that you need are all under that one platform, so no APIs connecting different systems to different systems. So what is Bottle ERP? So as I said, Bottle ERP is is customizations and bundles that we've packed together and put within NetSuite, and it contains all of this functionality. So LPA tracking, the manufacturing of the whiskey, container and cask management, warehouse management. So all of this fits within NetSuite under that one platform, allowing you to run your business from start to finish. And because everyone's on the same platform, it means that everybody is looking at the same data, but data that is pertinent to them. So from your sales team to the production team, the warehouse team, the finance team, all looking at data that is key to them. And you'll see today in Stephen's demo some of the the key dashboards and the key metrics that we can show you. So here you've got different dashboards for different roles, all same data, all linked together. So everything is all connected. So as I said, we can take the system will manage the journey from grain to glass. So these are all the components of the system that are part of it. So you've got component management, spirit production, cask management, and sample tracking, right through to bottling, warehouse, LPA, right through to the HMRC payment. Now today, because obviously we can't show you the whole system in 45 minutes, it normally takes around 2.5 to 3 hours. We're going to focus on 3 key areas, but please keep in mind that everything will filter back to finance and it's all under that one platform. So today we're going to focus on spirit production. We're going to focus on cask management, and we're going to show you the HMRC, the really exciting HMRC integration that we've built, which will completely automate the submission of your W forms. So with that, I will pass you over to Stephen, who is going to do the demo. Thanks, Stephen.
Excellent. Cheers, Rob.
And I believe we're starting with cask management, Stephen. Is that right?
We are. Yes, we are. Container stroke cask management is the first thing we're going to be bringing today.
So thinking about all the challenges that we come across whilst talking to these, while talking to distillers, there's lots of challenges around casks and containers, such as tracking the history of the wood, what's in, the samples taken, recognizing the cask as a fixed asset and the liquid as a lot controlled inventory item. All really difficult things to do on a spreadsheet or manually. Yeah, that's what we've seen. So Stephen's going to show you here how this is managed within NetSuite.
So yeah, the key bit is the way that we're tracking not only the cask but the contents separately but linked together. Casks are treated, as Rob said there, as a fixed asset record, and the contents of those are tracked as batch controlled inventory SKUs. Let's have a look at basically getting those casks into the business first and foremost. There's a few ways that we can do that, but the obvious way is with regard to purchasing them. So we've got on here an example of a purchase order for an empty cask. Here we can see that we're selecting the SKU here, the type of cask that we're putting in there. We can also see in here as well that the quantity that we're raising a purchase order for, and we're tracking like the container type as well, and all these can be defined within Bottle ERP. Now this purchase order has already been received, so if I was just to go over to the related records tab, and we can see that we've received the SKUs in here. So on the actual item receipt record itself, we can see that again with the 5 hogshead casks. Like I said, the important bit for us is that we want to treat these as a fixed asset. Now, normally in an ERP, you'd have to go in and you'd have to create the fixed assets independently, etc. And there'd be you can sometimes link them to a PO, but there's the overhead in doing it is very onerous. But what we've done here is automated it. So the second that you receive that PO items, what we're doing in the background is actually generating all those independent fixed asset records for you. So here we can see on the related records tab again, we've got a list of the fixed assets that we've created, and we can see there that we've got a fixed asset record for each of the 5 hogshead casks that we brought in there. And I can drill into any one of those fixed asset records, and that will take us to the information that lies underneath it, i.e. the value of it, the depreciation method, the fact that it's a container, and that we're tracking the age of the goods, etc. as well. And we've got the ability to track any lots of liquid that are contained within it, which at the moment, this is an empty cask. So there won't be any liquid in it. But we can see there that we've really simplified it, buying 5 casks, putting them into the business as now empty casks that can be filled as part of the manufacturing processes, and automatically generating the fixed assets along with them. If we now have another look at a slightly different way of bringing in a cask, and in this instance, what we've done is we're going to be bringing in a filled cask. So here we can see that actually we're bringing in a number of liquid, a quantity of liquid, and we're also bringing that in and saying actually it's part of a container. So we're going to actually receive that and fill it effectively within NetSuite in one hit. And again, on the related records tab, we can see the item receipt because it's already been received. And sure enough, here on the actual related on the item receipt record, we've got our single fixed asset record. And within this fixed asset record here, I can drill into the lot record, which will show me the liquid that's come across as part of that fixed asset. So here we can track not only the original ABV, OLA, original quantity, bulk liters, OLA values, age, AYS. All this information is being tracked on the lot record itself that is in turn situated within that fixed asset. So again, multiple ways to kind of bring in those containers, whether they're IBCs, whether they're barrels, etc. We have also created as well a little mechanism to import them if need be. So if you are bringing in, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of casks, we've got a really simple mechanism where you can bring those through on a spreadsheet, and those can be loaded directly into Bottle ERP. So once the casks are into NetSuite, what we've also done is worked a little bit on the location management functionality within NetSuite. So out the box, NetSuite allows you to define multiple locations, and those can be sub-locations within an individual location. So here we can see we've got a distillation plant, we've got external bottling plants, sample locations, visitor centres, etc. And what we can do within each of these individual locations, we can track whether the inventory is available, whether it uses bins, etc. But we can also define as well on those locations how we're handling any of duty paid stock held there already. But we wanted to be able to visualize the capacity that was held in those locations. So what we did was we created a location management screen. So within here now, what we're doing is we're visualizing the locations that are held within NetSuite, and we've got the ability to have multiple levels of visualizations as well. So we can drill in to the top tier location, if you will, and now we can see we've got separate sub areas, if you will, for long-term storage, short-term, customer-owned, component liquid. And we can keep drilling down, and we're getting a capacity as to how full those individual spaces are to show you some of the capacity that sits within a given location. And here we can see we've got this one bin, for example, bin A1 is 17% full. And as we drill into that bin, we then get a representation of the containers that are actually sat within that bin, and as well as some useful information for those individual barrels in that case. And we can also see any empty storage space that we've got within those locations. So that's how we're managing location management within NetSuite. Those locations actually form part of a distribution resource network that we'll be covering a little bit later in more detail when we talk about NetSuite's MRP capabilities. We've also created as well a nice way to organize and manage all the containers held within the business. Now, within the container management screen within Bottle ERP, we've got all our hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of various different containers. They're all sat in different locations, they're in various fill states. Some are empty, some are full of liquid, etc. Some may contain, we've got IBCs, we've got barrels, etc. But we've got the ability to filter those by location, by batch, by SKU, by fixed asset number, or by cask code, if you know any of those that we want to match it. And if I just go in there and let me just filter down one of the ones I'm looking for. So I've filtered that down, and here now we can see our container record. It's given us a nice summary there to say the type of container that it is, the capacity, the wood type, the cask code, batch name of the goods that are sat in there. Are we tracking the aging of those goods that are sat within there? What the actual liquid age is, what the fill date was, what the AYS is as well, and obviously where that barrel's actually sat. And we can drill into that fixed asset record. And again, it's just showing us all those details that were summarized on the previous page. And because, like I said, we're tracking the fixed asset, we're tracking the barrel independently to the actual goods that are sat within it. Here we can see we've got a link to the liquids that are sat within that barrel. And if they open that lot record, so this is the actual liquid that's sat within it at the moment. And again, we're tracking all really useful information, ABV values, OLAs, the original one and what it currently is. So if that changes over time, regauges, etc., we're able to track those independently. We're also tracking as well multiple other fields there. You can see is going to be useful to the industry. We're also able as well, which is really useful, because every single thing we do in Bottle ERP is tracked. So I can go in and I can see the history of this lot. And we can see, for example, that the lot was created from when we actually purchased it. And we've got a link there to the original purchase order that it came from. And we can then see that we've taken 2 samples out of that lot on 2 different dates. And again, we've got links to those records where we've taken those samples. So as we're actually doing the day-to-day processes of not only buying the casks, filling the casks, sampling the casks, regauging the casks, drawing off to revat, etc., all that history is being tracked in real time, along with the financial impact, as well as updating all the LPA values, etc., and movements within the core ERP system, NetSuite itself. We're also partnering up as well with Workiro. So we use Workiro's document management solution. Now, within Workiro, we can see that it's been embedded within the actual cask, the fixed asset record itself. So here we can see, for example, and track all related documents that may pertain to the fixed asset, whether it's test sheets or delivery notes, etc. We can also have active, almost like WhatsApp conversation threads as well with specific things. So we can see, for example, that we've got a missing dispatch note on there. And what I can do from here is if I've got the thing, I can kind of just drag the note into there, upload that file accordingly. I can then put the conversation on there, mark that as complete, and now we're managing all those conversations and email capture back and forth directly against the record that it's linked to. Full version control on all the documents as well. So a really powerful but very simple to use document management solution that's been embedded into Bottle ERP.
I'll just say, sorry, Stephen. Just say to everyone watching today, feel free, if you've got any questions, you can pop them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to those either at the end of this section or at the end of the webinar. Thanks.
And also, as we go through this demo as well, I'll be showing you some of the various reports that we've built into the product. So you can see here, actually, what we've done is we've embedded Bottle ERP within the core platform, so it looks at absolutely native NetSuite. So here within the Bottle ERP menu, we've got the various duty, LPA, item related information, container stock, so we can see all the various empty containers, container history, lot aging history, full lot history, all the relevant reports that you would expect to see and use on a daily basis. Rob, so that's the demo on container stroke cask management.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to move on now to the production side. Like I said, guys, if you've got any questions on the cask management, please pop them in the chat and we'll get to them. So on the production side, then again, it's a similar challenge, isn't it? Where people are maintaining their different manufacturing types on spreadsheets, which makes it very manual, extremely onerous, and the visibility of the scheduling, the outputs, the history of the liquid becomes really difficult to track. So that's what we're going to show you now, how we tackle that challenge.
So we're going to be talking a little bit, first of all, I'm not, again, because of time constraints, we can't go too much into MRP and the wonderful complexities of it all, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about MRP capabilities. And then we're going to actually go into some of the manufacturing tasks as well, the spirit production, and I think we're going to do a re-gauge as well. So first and foremost, so NetSuite's got full MRP capabilities, and that kind of starts off at the fact of the location management piece that I showed you before. That all will form part of a distribution resource network, and you're specifying at individual item level how you handle the demand for that item, whether it's via you making it or buying it, and who the supplier is, what the supplier lead times, how long it takes you to make individual goods, etc. And then NetSuite's going to take all of that information, and then you would enter a demand plan. And NetSuite will calculate that demand plan for you. It can either look back historically and take into account any seasonality, or it can also look forward as well at forward order books. And what NetSuite will then do is it's going to summarize this information by running its MRP engine on a nightly basis. And it's going to take all that information and align it with your current inventory levels. And it's going to place all that information on this planning workbench screen that you can see in front of me is here. Now, what's this doing? This is summarizing all our supply requirements across the business. Whether it's, for example, purchase orders that it's telling us we need to order and when we need to order them, or whether it's work orders that it's telling us what we need to make and when we need to make it for. But NetSuite's also clever enough as well, because it's obviously a manufacturing system with full bill of materials and revision control built in there as well. It will handle the full ripple down through of any bill of materials, as well as any transferring of goods between locations. So if I expand just one of these as a kind of an example and show you some of the clever stuff that's going on in the background. So we've basically said that there's a demand at the visitor centre in Manchester on a specific day. It then knows that it needs to transfer that stock from our distillation plan. And actually, in order to transfer it there's going to be a shortfall, because so we need to do a work order for the item, and then there's a work order for one of the subcomponents. And then actually there was a shortfall of one of the components within that bill of materials. So we need a PO for that as well. So that full ripple down through the whole supply chain network, NetSuite will do that automatically for you, and it will come up with all those planning decisions for you. And what it also does as well, which is really nice, if there's any planning alerts to say, actually, you might want to reconsider bringing forward the date of this work order or this PO, you can use those, and you can have those planning alerts then on your dashboard. So these dashboards are very interactive. They're very customizable. You can drag and drop content. We can change what we want to show on them at any given time.
Stephen, we've got a question. I don't know if it fits into here. Ronnie's asked, could we see an example of a finished goods stock report and the detail included, and can they tailor it? We can come back to that if it's...
So we have, let me just run, this is an inventory snapshot. So this basically shows us all the stuff that we physically have in stock at any given time. Now, what we can do on here, we can split this down to run it at just certain locations, or we can break it down to show across all our various locations. And what it's showing us is it's not just how much we've actually got on hand. So here we can see like Whiskey 101, for example, or actually the bottles. Let's have a look at the bottles, the finished bottle. We've got 9,845 bottles of this product. But we can see 750 of that is on order. And we can see if any of those have been committed or in transit accordingly. Now, it's worth noting that all these reports, of which there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds that you get out of the box in NetSuite, every single one can be customized. So now I'm in the report builder. You know, here's all the fields on the item record. And we can just go in there and we can change and so on, and add any values that we want. And then we can create our own version of that report. That report can then be choose if we want to filter anything out of it. We can see actually who gets to see this report as well. Is it just something that I want to see, or do I actually publish it across the business? And I can say that actually these roles or these departments or these locations can see these roles. This report, sorry. We can also schedule them as well. So maybe you want to schedule like a daily stock report to go out first thing in the morning that you want to share with your sales team, for example, so they know what they've got available stock to sell. All these things can be done out the box in NetSuite.
Thanks, Stephen.
Does that answer that question? So we touched upon the MRP screen on there and how it handles it. The upshot of using that planning workbench screen is that NetSuite you would then release all the planned work orders and planned purchase orders, and then they'd go into this centralized purchasing screen. And there's a similar one for the work order side. And this is where it's basically said, well, here's everything you've told me we need to order. Here's who we normally get it from. Here's the currency that we normally buy it in from that vendor, and here's the quantity and the price, etc., that's been in there. Now, you may know, for example, that actually if you're buying a high quantity, you can get it in a slightly reduced rate. So you can make any changes to these as you see fit. And then once you're happy, you just click submit, and then NetSuite's going to go off and create all your purchase orders for you. Those purchase orders, by the way, they can have multiple level approvals if need be. They can be emailed out to vendors. You can print off PDFs, etc. All of those, that's kind of all standard NetSuite functionality. Any more questions on MRP and procurement? I know it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, this one, but more than happy to do separate breakout sessions and go into depth in particular areas.
We've got a question from Stephen. Thanks, Stephen. What methods are there for inputting a demand plan?
Okay. So let me, sorry, 1 second.
Thanks for the question, guys. Keep them coming.
So if I can see here, I can go in and I can generate demand plans. I can get NetSuite basically to generate my my demand plans. And it will do those on a location by location basis. So I can say, for example, what's a visitor centre London? How I work this out, I can either look linear regression, moving averages, sales forecast, or seasonal averages. So if I want to basically look at, what's been happening over, and I can say like 12 months, look 12 months back, look 12 months forward for all the SKUs, submit, and it will go off and it will create a demand plan per item, per location. And what that's basically going to give us is, let me see if this link still works. Hopefully it will. It should be a link to an example of, I think this is an old one. So what you would normally have within here is basically it would go off and it would calculate, and if it's weekly or monthly, it would say the quantity, whether you're doing it, say we need 50 of these this month, 52 the following, and so on and so on. But NetSuite is generating that demand plan record for you. These demand plans, by the way, once they're created, they are editable records, so you can go in and make any changes to them. So maybe that you're doing you're doing a festival, for example, and you've got a stall on there, or you're doing a promotion and you're going to expect an uplift. NetSuite will handle all of that for you. You can make changes to them. You can also export these and import them if you'd rather, manipulate them in bulk, so to speak. Any more questions on any of that? No? Let's get stuck into the actual manufacturing side now, because it's useful to show that on.
Sorry, Stephen, there is a question. Can you not add this yourself rather than NetSuite calculating it? So I think Stephen's probably talking about uploading a demand plan.
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying before. So those demand plan records, you don't have to have NetSuite create them. You can import them, and you can manage them on however you see fit. As long as you put them into the system, that will then drive the MRP engine in the background when it's looking at planned consumption.
Great. Stephen, I hope that answers your question. If not, keep keep clarifying. Sorry, we know we can't talk on this, but
so with regards to, like I said, we looked at the order item screen, and as I said, NetSuite's also got a similar screen for mass creating your work orders as well. And your work orders are used for all the manufacturing processes within Bottle ERP. So whether it's the spirit production, whether it's the regauge process, the sampling process, all of those are taking components and making changes to them, putting them into a container, etc. But they're all managed as work orders. And we can use this single screen on NetSuite to go in and create them, or we can do them individually as well. What we've also created, which is really, really useful, we wanted to visualize the list of work orders, because out of the box, you've basically got a list of all your open work orders, etc., that you can go in and you can see in list format. But what we created was a solution called a visual production planner. And what this enables us to do, any work order that's created on NetSuite will then automatically drop into our visual planner. And we can see in there, we can expand that, and we can show the components that sit within those. The orange ones basically are in a plan stage, and the green ones have been scheduled in. We can change this view to look at a weekly view, a monthly view, a yearly view. And the planned ones, for example, because when the MRP runs, they normally would drop into like a Monday or the first of the month. But what you can then do is actually move these around and say, actually, well, on the 24th, we're going to be doing that, and it's going to probably take 3 days, and that's going to take 2. And then once you're happy with those, let's actually change that from a plan to a release. And likewise with that. You can bake in those plans, save those changes, and that's going to update the work orders in real time in the background. It's going to change the planning stage of that work order, and it's going to change the production start and end date for you as well. So this is just, again, an example of how we've tailored NetSuite to enable some really, really useful visualization tools, instead of just looking at, flat lists of data, if you will. Right, let's go and make something. So I can quickly go in and I can create a work order. So with the work order stage, what we've tried to add as well is you can see this little guide at the top, which is going to walk us through the various things and make it as easy as possible to use. And you'll see as we're going through a lot of the things today, we've tried to automate a lot of the clever stuff that's what would normally be really manual, onerous tasks in an enterprise class ERP. We've tried to automate that because we know the decision logic up front. So let's kind of go in there and let's select our SKU.
Sorry, Stephen, question for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. It's from Lizzie. If your 3PL warehouse reports missing stock, breakages, leaks, etc., and you manually amend stock level quantities on this system, is there a way of quantifying these anomalies and easily reviewing frequency of issues?
Yeah, so those would be brought across as inventory adjustments. So if we was to what we normally would do is to integrate with your 3PL, and then any stock movements back and forth are automated on separate flows. So there'd be a shipping flow, a receiving flow, an inventory adjustment flow, an end of day stock sync, and any changes to damaged goods, for example, would normally be brought across on an inventory adjustment record. Now, these inventory adjustment records, you can have reason codes onto those. So you could imagine that basically there'd be, and we haven't hooked up to a 3PL on this. So there'd be basically a list of inventory adjustments on the system. And we could stick a reason code next to it, and then you could report on inventory adjustments and the reasons for why they exist, i.e., damaged in transit, weather damage, and that kind of stuff. and all those are maintained separately in NetSuite. And obviously as well, when you're damaging stock, you're effectively writing it off. So there's a financial impact in writing off that stock. And also there's a reduction in LPA values, etc. as well, that you said was being previously owned by yourself. So the inventory adjustment does a number of things in the background, not just say, actually, there's one less SKU.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks, Lizzie, for the question.
So we've got our work order here. So you can see, first of all, I've selected my SKU. I'm selecting the different production types. Now, again, what we've tried to do is be able to split these up, and so you can do some really nice reporting and scheduling based upon the different production types that you may be doing, whether it's regauges, spirit production, samples, rework, liquid transfer, or vatting. And then we can manage them independently. We can see this SKU, this Whiskey 101, has a bill of materials, and it has a full bill of materials revision as well. So within the individual SKUs themselves, you maintain a bill of materials and the revision that says what's in it, and we're tracking the component yield, we're tracking quantity per LA as well as bomb quantities. I know those can be maintained over different revisions per different bombs as well. So it's automatically selected what is the preferred bill of materials and preferred revision. Let's just say where we're actually going to be making this thing, and then let me just enter in there a quantity that we're going to be making today. The next thing I need to do is specify, and it's telling me there in the guide, specify the fixed asset, the container that the goods are going to be going into. And there it's just popping up a little message that basically says the selected container actually already contains some liquid. So the current lot number that resides within that barrel is actually going to be used for this production as well. And let me just change that automatically because I'd normally drop it in as a planning stage and then release it. We can see that when we've added the quantity, it's automatically updated the bill of materials. So we now have all the relevant bill of materials for what we are expecting to use. And once I'm happy with that, I can just save that. Now, what NetSuite is going to do, it's going to save the work order. It's going to give it a unique transaction ID. Every single transaction in NetSuite will have its own unique identifier. And what that enables you to do is basically, this global search that you see here at the top, whether it's a sales order number, whether it's an inventory adjustment number, whether it's a work order number, you can use that to search for the transaction on NetSuite. You can also use that as well for customer lookups or postcode lookups, etc. as well. So for example, if I was to kind of go in there and search for that work order number that we just put in there before, you can see it comes up on the global search as something we can dive straight into. So on here now, we can see here's the example of the actual work order itself. What I'm just going to do is go in there and build this very quickly. So we're just going to create this liquid. All I need to do in this instance is put in the inventory detail. And it's going to ask me for some pertinent information, i.e. like ABV values and AY feeds as well. So if I just wait for that to populate. So I can, for example, put in there 65, today's date, and what was the lot number? Oh, I should have grabbed that from the record. Normally, you see, we're doing full label creation as well. So at this point, you'd normally be scanning all this information in using a mobile scanning solution. But also, I put the quantity. In there. we get the nice green tick in there, and then I can just save that record. So that's the assembly build process. So what we've done there is just created some of the actual spirit itself. And we've actually placed that spirit within the container. So now when we drill down in the moment, once that saves, it's going to consume all these components. And those components obviously will have a cost. Then it's going to increase the finished goods, what we've actually made, which is the Whiskey 101. Now, some of the complex scripting that we're doing in the background to handle and manage the LPAs is on a schedule. So sometimes there's like a 5-minute thing that runs or a 10-minute thing that runs. So what I'm just going to do is just force it just so we can calculate these and show you the LPA values and the tracking that we're doing. Because like I said, sometimes we kind of offload that just so it sits and runs in the background. But I've just refreshed that now, refreshed that information, and we can see, for example, we've tracked now the LPA build total, and we're tracking any gains and losses, etc., in there as well. And if we go back to our work order, we can see that work order is now built. And if I go into the lot that we actually went and created, let me just draw into that a slightly different way. Apologies. There we go. Oh, sorry. We can now see the usage on there. So this is a really good example of quite a complex one. So on here, for example, and here's the one we've just done today, the assembly build. So it kind of started with, we've added to this container quite a few times over previous demos, etc. And we can see the quantity in there that we've just added to it, and we've updated ABV values and LPA values as well. And obviously we've got that full lot traceability as we go through it. Any questions on spirit production before I show you an example of a quick re-gauge as well, just to give you a bit of an example on that? Okay, let's just jump in. I've already created the work order for this one. Now, with regards to this work order, for what we've done on here, this was basically a re-gauge that we did. Now, on the re-gauge, again, we've got an assembly build record. Now, what we did is on the assembly build record, we were specifying what is going to be the new ABV value and the new RLA value. And that's going to then calculate the bulk quantity. And when it saves, it will automatically create the assembly build record for us. And again, it's just kind of tracking all the history and the various processes as it goes along. Very similar to in a way of how we handle the sample processes. So you just create the work order with here we can see we're tracking the production type of the re-gauge. And then that is updating all the records in real time as we save the assembly build record. Any questions on processes for spirit production, samples, re-gauges in particular?
Doesn't seem to be.
No. Okay. Useful reports on this one that we've got. So obviously a key one in this area is going to be like, LPA gains and losses, for example. So if we go to...
Sorry, Stephen, there is a question. How is the loss categorized, storage or production?
I'm not quite sure on that question. Hopefully this will go some way to show. So this LPA gains and losses report that we've got here we can see, for example, where the gain and losses is attributed to a certain production type. We can also tracking as well, obviously, the bulk gain or loss, as well as any differences for LPA and across the board as well. We can highlight and modify these reports as well. So I think from memory, the records on this list are highlighted if there's more than 2% either way. And this is just an example of one of the reports, one of the safe searches that we have built as part of Bottle ERP. Just conscious of time, Rob, and I think I may have overrun slightly on that bit, mate.
Okay, yep. So should we move on to the final piece?
If everyone is good with that.
If everyone's good, I think it's a couple of questions, but we can come back to you guys after, which isn't a problem. Okay, so the big one that we've been working on for the past couple of months after much demand is the challenge around your duty report. So your W5s, your W21s, your W5Ds, etc., and producing those reports and getting them into HMRC. Prior to this development that we've done, we used to produce the report on one side in the right format to allow you then to type into HMRC. But what we're going to show you today is how we have integrated that process, so it's all completely automated. So over to Stephen. Thank you.
Okay, so first things first, what we're tracking at a really high level, we're tracking the various different duty rates that are managed and specified by HMRC. So we've got the ability to add new duty rates if they decide to change them again, which they probably will, and I believe they are doing soon, where there's going to be lots more. Each of these duty rates, if I just drill into one of these values as well, we can see, they're based on the actual type of duty and the liquid, etc., that's in there. We can see start and end dates, and we can see that they're obviously tracking against a range of ABV values as well, from and to. So those are maintained and handled directly within Bottle ERP. And like I said, they can be changed and added to at any stage. Now, what we're also doing as well, and here's an example of a sales order on NetSuite. At line level and at body level, we are tracking all potential duty owed and the duty status of each of those lines. So we can see, for example, if each individual line will have a duty status. Each individual line will have like an estimated duty rate, and then that's basically combined by the total, by the quantity, which gives you the line complete estimated duty value. And then this is summarized again at order level here, so we can see the estimated duty total for the full order. So this is just an estimated at this moment in time. Now it's worth as well noticing on the sales order, we do support commercial invoicing as well. So we've got a solution to handle that. We can either print it, or we can now either export it to a Word document as well, if need be. And as I said, we're just tracking the estimated at the sales order stage. It's when it gets to the fulfillment side where we're tracking the actual duty. So if I go through and have a look at one of the related records again, because NetSuite is everything is one system. If I drill into the actual shipment record itself, here's an example of the shipment record that's gone. Again, we're tracking the duty at line level and the status and the overall fulfillment as well. And what this also enables us to do is on the shipment record, we can obviously track where the goods are going to, what packages, any tracking links, etc., that are in there, and obviously the order that it relates to. So again, we're tracking the potential, the estimated costs at the sales order stage, the actual costs at the fulfillment stage.
Quick question, Stephen, sorry. Is the duty rate list maintained by Catalyst on behalf of the customers, or is it maintained by the customers?
It is maintained by the customers. We would initially work with you to create all the ones that are needed at the time of us implementing your account. But after that, it's up to you guys to basically maintain them.
Thank you.
Any more questions on duty before we go into that?
It doesn't seem to be.
No. Okay, so what we're also doing here as well is obviously when the goods are fulfilled, it's a finance system, so we're basically, the goods are leaving your building, if you will, and obviously the ownership is transferred as well. And what we're doing with regards to the actual duty that is now payable, because it's owned, we're automatically, there's a little script that runs every night that in the background is going to create a journal record on NetSuite. And what this is doing is it's basically journaling the liability that's created against the goods. So we can see here we've got a journal that's going from duty payable to duty, and it's automatically generating that every single night for you. So that's how we're capturing initially what duty is due to be paid, and then flagging up what transactions we have to now be paid. Let's actually walk through the process now of paying paying the duty. So we can see here within Bottle ERP the various different duty records, duty types that we support. Let me just drill into one of these. Now, here we can see basically a list of all the transactions that are flagged as duty payable. Now, what I can do here is I can mark each one independently. Obviously, I can filter these by location and date ranges, etc. And once you're happy with those transactions that you're selecting, you just go on and review the selection. It's then telling us to review the information below and please ensure it's correct before you submit the page, and obviously how much it is in total, which is kind of 198.45. I can then specify the bank account that is going to be on there. I'm pretty sure it's just called check account in this account. And then once we're happy to submit the information, we can submit that to HMRC. And it's just going to submit that now in the background. It will see, you'll see a little update in a moment to the banners to basically saying it's kind of going off and it's now submitting. So here we can now see HMRC is currently processing the request. Once approved, the system will automatically update this record with the HMRC reference. And what we're doing in the back...
So yeah, quick question for you. Duty may be payable on a transfer instead of a shipment. Mm-hmm. We may hold stock duty paid. Is this straightforward?
Yeah, so those, not only the status of each line is flagged, whether it's duty payable or not. So that is not only item fulfillments, but it's also transfers between locations as well. So those will flag up on the duty payable screen. So you can add them or exclude them as so be.
And is there provision for having a duty payment with no VAT option payable on the duty?
Technically, yes. You would just have to select the correct VAT handling.
Yeah.
We can. I'll speak to one of my financial experts on that and give you the correct answer in a financial way. I'm not sorry, I'm not an accountant, so yeah, I don't want to get into an area that I'm not I'm not an expert.
And then another question: did that submission generate the BACS payment?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't generate the BACS payment at this moment in time. You still need to go off and actually do the BACS payment yourself.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, guys.
So hopefully now, let's just see if that's refreshed. It has, brilliant. So what it's gone off and done is, so the two transaction lines that it's gone off and done, if I drill into one of those actually, So we can see on
So similar question, can we show the GL impact?
Of what, sorry?
Sorry, Boyce. Do you mean of just to elaborate on that question, Boyce, if you can? If you carry on, Stephen, and then we'll come back to that. Oh, on the duty transaction.
Right. So the duty transaction itself doesn't have an impact as such. It's the relevant records that it updates. So we can see here that it's actually gone and created a journal. So what it's doing in the background is it's then paying that liability, offsetting it basically, that was the one that was created. So the estimated duty where we create the liability each night, it's offsetting that and fixing that in the background when we actually do the payment. I think that's what Boyce was getting
at.
Okay. Yeah, so we've gone off. We've integrated it now. So we've now updated all those item fulfillment records. We're set in at line level to say what the duty paid status is. So we can see there, for example, the line level of duty payment record. We've got a link and the reference number to the duty payment record as well, is all captured on line level. So all of this information, again, is being tracked for audit capabilities and closing down, so you're not having to pay things 2, 3, 4 times, etc. And then it will then disappear off our list of transactions that we need to pay for next time. So obviously, if I go in and try and do the W5D thing again, now it's empty because we've processed all the transactions, and there's now no longer any duty payable transactions that need to be done. Final thing kind of I wanted to show you just to wrap up this demo is obviously one of the key things here is data quality. And what we've tried to build into Bottle ERP is catching problems before they occur. So within the data quality menu within Bottle ERP, you know, any containers that are over capacity, any lot numbers where are missing information, every conceivable potential issue that we think we've come across so far, we've created alerts and search results, etc., to highlight to you to make sure that your data is always kept in top notch. So you know, you hopefully there shouldn't be any issues when excluding data or when submitting to HMRC or tracking any of the LPA values, etc.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you, Stephen. And thank you very much, everyone, for the questions. I know there was a fair few coming through then, and what we'll try and do is obviously we'll reach out to you all after following the webinar, or Sam will, and we can have a further discussion on the system. So that was the demonstration. Oh, there we go. Right. So there was a question around cost, and we can talk about cost in sort of on separate calls. But obviously, we mentioned at the start of the webinar that obviously NetSuite is a enterprise level system, but doesn't come with the enterprise level pricing that you think it may do. And we've worked with NetSuite to allow the smaller side of the companies, so anything under 10 users really. We've worked with NetSuite to be able to utilize what's called their starter edition. Now there's no real impact in functionality of the core NetSuite platform, but what it does allow you is what they call a free activation to the core NetSuite platform. So this will allow you to utilize that really powerful functionality that the system gives you. We can then come in and overlay the Bottle ERP bundles for you. And again, there's 2 options for Bottle ERP. You can have a starter edition, which is half the price of the normal, or you can go full on Bottle ERP, which includes things like WMS, so warehouse management system. It includes quality control. It includes all the visualization. But in the starter edition, you know, it's a starter it's a starter edition of the solution. But what that gives you is, quicker time to value. It is a completely out of the box solution. Okay, so rather than probably a 3-month implementation of the full system, we're looking at around about 2 months, a month to 2 months to get you up and live. And obviously, cash flow to a smaller distillery is vital. So we can work with Oracle to finance the licenses, to spread out that cost over 3 years, and it is extremely more cost effective and still gaining a lot of value within your distillery. So really happy to have a chat with you all on separate calls to discuss that in slightly more detail. So once again, thank you for today. Sam's been on the call. He's our distillery specialist. So if any further information, please reach out to him or myself or Stephen. Happy to have a chat with you. And wouldn't be a webinar without a special offer. So if anyone would like to purchase this before September the 30th, so it gives you time to evaluate it and implement it, etc. We're going to offer half-price Bottle ERP bundle, whether that be starter or the full, if you purchase before the end of September. Just a note, that does not include the NetSuite license. So that's a wrap for this today. Once again, thank you so much for all your questions. It helps the webinar to be really interactive. And Sam will reach out to everybody, or feel free to reach out to us for any more information. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day and the rest of the week. And come on, England. Bye.